Lewiston, and KNWO 90.1 Cottonwood.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Public Works Finance Committee meeting for November 27, 2017. Next to me on my right is Brandy Sullivan, the newest council person, Gina Terusio on the left, and Jen Piffner representing the city staff today. So we're going to start off today with the approval of the Public Works Finance Committee November 13 minutes. And I guess there's only two of us that attended that, so
I move approval.
That's still a majority and a quorum. So we're approving those minutes as presented. Item number 2 on today's agenda is resolution accepting the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport grant. And Jen's going to step in for Gary on that one.
Thank you. This is an Idaho Division of Aeronautics matching grant that we received notice of, and it's a required, within the packet there's a required agreement and resolution to accept those funds. The funds are for match monies for the realignment project that is currently ongoing. So it's, for instance, I think it was the mayor that pointed out this afternoon that $12,000 worth of match results in about $100,000 plus of funds for the project itself. So that's why this agreement and resolution is before you this afternoon.
I see Mr. Lambert approaching the bench.
Yeah.
Thank you, honorable council members and Public Works and Finance Committee. This is kind of an interesting thing because we got $12,500 from the Transportation Department from ITD, and it's the first time ever. So it might seem like a little insignificant amount, but we're truly thankful for it because anytime you get something, it'll stretch out to over $100,000 towards airport work. And so I was pretty excited about that. It was a long time coming. It was 2 years worth of work. And so Mike, who is the head of that for ITD, for the aeronautics side of it, I've got a chance to talk to several times, and we'll keep that relationship going. And who knows, maybe there'll be some more coming for us down the road. But we went on the tour when we had the legislative tour here last year, as you all remember, right after the new election year, while we took all the representatives that were up here in 2 bus loads over there on our way to Schweitzer and talked about the airport. And I was like the guy in the tour bus because I had the microphone and I'm chatting about all kinds of good stuff and about the wheat fields and peas and all kinds of things, you know, and driving everybody crazy. But we got a chance to talk about the airport, so they got a first-hand knowledge of it. So just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, sir.
And if I may, even though the airport is technically located in Pullman, because of its proximity to Idaho, ITD has adopted it as an Idaho airport. So that's been in their planning documents for quite some time, but we haven't seen the funding come through until this point. So any questions?
It's very difficult to say no. You know, we're making progress. Baby steps. Anytime somebody wants to help us with the match on these projects, I'm all in favor of it. Anybody else want to dissent? That's fine.
Nope.
Look at that for consent agenda?
Yeah, I would recommend that we, this committee recommends approval of that and put it on a consent agenda. I don't think we're going to get any blowback from any of the other counselors.
Mm-mm.
There's another one right there, and he doesn't seem to be upset. So.
Nope, he's smiling.
Yeah, he's not even paying attention. He doesn't even care.
Is that why he's smiling?
Okay, item number 3 on today's agenda is the 2018 City Limits Ordinance. Les is going to tell us how the city limits have changed over the year. There's been some annexation, I'm sure, something minor, but...
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Les.
This is one of the most riveting topics of the year.
It is.
Which I think I'd say every year when I come here in December. So it's
Fine riveting.
Riveting, well, yes.
So you get a rivet put through your hand into something.
You can't leave. You have to stay. The state statutes for Idaho require that municipalities define their corporate boundaries on an annual basis. And a lot of years where we have no annexations, we just say, hey, it was the same as it was last time, whenever that was. And we usually do that through just a resolution that says, yeah, it was the same. But when we do have annexations, as is the case this year, then we need to modify that boundary. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And what will happen is there's an ordinance in your packet that is proposed that defines the new boundary. There's also a copy of the previous ordinance from the last time we did this, a couple of years ago when we had some annexations. So the area that was annexed this year is up here on the very western edge of the city, northwest quadrant of the city limits, and that is just kind of north of War Bonnet. That little blurry splotch right there says War Bonnet. And that Hatchton area it's part of the Montgomery property that was annexed at the early part of this year. The other one that came up that people have asked about was the Logos School annexation, but that actually occurred late last year, so that was addressed previously. So in our ordinance in the packet today, it defines this dash line boundary all the way around the city as our corporate limits for 2018, with the modification of right here, we jog north and across to the state line and then back down to where we started, going around. That's it. Easy.
Is there any reason why the road from the Montgomery property that
right
the
there.
university owns, where the pipeline from the well number 10 goes down, is there any reason why we're not annexing that? Does the university just not want to?
They've not made the request. It's one of those things that they acquired it probably about 5 years ago now from the Montgomerys as kind of a way to finish off that westerly portion of their ownership, because they own all that area.
Right.
In here, that's the mall, and actually even north into the dairy. A lot of this ground belongs to the university. But that was that kind of, I think it's 40, 50-foot wide stretch, something like that in there. That was the driveway from Montgomery's to the north, and thus was never part of the city. And then some years ago, they worked a deal to acquire that and modified the Montgomery's driveway so they actually access off the end of A Street, where it currently terminates right there by the medical center. So the university, I think, has probably just not seen a reason. Same reason they haven't annexed any of this other ground to the north around the dairy. I mean, someday they may do that, but there's nothing really driving them to do so.
It just seems like a goofball.
It's an odd little divot
there that could be.
that's there. In time, I'm sure it will go away when they look to do something up here to the north in the area of the dairy. If there's some development north of the mall, and they need to annex more of that property into the city.
Well, A Street goes through that. Would
The
eventually
proposed
go through
alignment,
that.
right now it terminates, of course, right here at Farm Road. The proposed alignment would be to come up here and then back down and tie in right there. So it kind of jogs. There's a couple little ponds right up in here that are associated with the
Pretty
dairy.
big pond.
Yeah, so it would zip kind of around through that area and then back to Farm Road. So someday, when that property is maybe put into some commercial development, perhaps by the university, like the mall, then they would probably look to annex at that point.
When they move the dairy to Twin Falls and
We'll see.
put A Street through, the whole thing can get cleaned up there, maybe.
Mhm.
Hopefully. Okay. I see no
Pretty easy.
reason except, let's see, on line 36 of packet page 17, it's S 35 degrees south by 36 east. I'm not sure that's correct. Could you check on that?
Should be west instead of east. Okay, we'll double check that one for you.
Because that's just such a bunch of boilerplate that nobody's ever going to look at.
People do.
Okay.
All right. So I move we recommend approval of the attached ordinance establishing the new legal description for the City of Moscow corporate limits. That's
I think
awesome.
we can consent agenda that as
Yeah, I
well.
agree.
That needs to go on a regular agenda
Does it
because it's an ordinance.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
true. I think
yes.
you're right.
If it was a resolution without a change from previous years, you could do a consent, but because it's an ordinance, they actually have to take a vote.
Yeah, okay. Well, it'll be a short presentation.
So it
anyway.
will be the same, what you did right here.
Just like this.
basically.
It was a good practice run. You're good.
We'll just play the tape back.
Okay, thank you, Les. Thank you. All right, now we're down to reports on today's agenda, and we're going to talk about the 2008 sewer revenue bond refinancing and refunding.
Hello.
Sarah's all over that.
I
Going
am.
to tell us who the bond counsel and underwriter and everything is, I suppose.
Yes, well, I think so. The update, I believe, since the last time you spoke with Gary, the refunding went through, and so we received 5 proposals from 4 different entities. And our financial advisor is Piper Jaffray, Eric Herringer from Piper Jaffray is who's been working on this with us. And I received a memo from them today that I'm going to pass out to you because he couldn't be here, though he will be here on December 4th. Maybe pass those around. And he went through and laid out the proposals we received with their interest rates and the differences between them. And after thorough review by everyone, it was recommended that we go forward with Zion's Bank. And that's because they had the lowest interest rate that was constant. Wells Fargo did put in a proposal that had a lower interest rate, but it was subject to change, and so it wasn't advised that we go with that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It went through, the interest rate is 2.4%, 2.48%, and it looks like we will save approximately $444,000. But we'll have to put $100,000 back into the next refinance, so it'll be approximately around $344,000, which was better than we expected.
And just by way of a little bit of history, this is the sewer bonds that we have outstanding at
The
this
2008.
time from 2008. So this is the piece we're looking at refinancing, and got some favorable proposals.
Yeah.
Now, this is the only bond indebtedness that we have outstanding other than what's remaining on the pool, if I'm not correct.
We also have our 2011 series bonds that were refinanced, and we have those, I believe they're ending, I don't know the exact year, but it's sooner than later.
The 2011, which project is it for?
The series, it's also sewer bonds.
Okay.
But they were refinanced.
They were refinanced. We cannot
11,
refinance them again.
Yeah.
Correct, in 2011.
But I don't know when they finish up.
Right, and that's where I don't have that off the top of my head when it is. But I know the pool is 2018, and I don't want to guess on the date of the 2011, but I can let you know that if you want to know.
Just to know how much bond capacity we have left or
Sure.
upcoming.
Sure.
It might have some relevance to the bond we're trying to bring forward this year, this
Right.
next year.
Okay.
Well, the difference between the two, I'll just interrupt here
Yeah,
for a
sure,
minute,
go right
is
ahead.
those are revenue-producing bonds, the sewer
Right.
bonds, and so that doesn't really coincide with the general obligation bonds,
Debt
Jim, that we
service.
have
Yeah, that's
because of
true.
the debt service. So when we get into the midsummer, we will have zero general obligation bonds, so.
Because the swimming pool will be done in
Yep.
18.
And
Yes.
so, just thought I'd clarify that for you
Yeah.
guys, and for the record, I think there's about a decade left on those revenue bonds.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Okay.
So that's the update I have. If you don't have any further questions, like I said, I'll hand this out to Art and to the next committee as well for everybody to see. So,
Okay, great.
all right.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Nobody has anything else for today's Public Works Finance Committee? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
All
that
those
one.
in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned. Thank you.